Hey guys, and welcome back to another Design Together workshop. I'm Ahmed, and in this video we're going to be designing a simple hero section for a website. So let's get started. So this is the hero section that we're going to be designing in this video. It's made up of a frame. We have this section frame, and inside that frame we have two containers or two frames. They're each taking up 6 columns. Our intro wrapper frame is taking up 6 columns, and our image container is taking up 6 columns, and they're both at 104 vertical padding from the section frame. Inside the intro wrapper frame, we have a text element, which is our header, and then we have this subscribe component, which is made up of a text field and a button that we created in the last video. Inside our hero image container, we have an image and a text element for the caption text. And I sourced this image from a website called Sketch App Resources, and it's by Pixel True Designs, and I'll post the link to the description of this video. So the main components that we have to create here is we just need to create a shared style for this H1 header, and we need to create a text field component. So let's start designing this section. So I'm gonna go back to the desktop frame where we had created this header notification and header navigation component in a previous video. And I'm going to click F on the keyboard to start creating our hero section. This is going to be our main section frame. I'm gonna align it to the bottom of our header navigation, increase the size a bit, and rename this frame to section hero. No, not with a 0. So I know that the section is going to have a subscription component, and this subscription component consists of a text field and a button. We had created a button in the previous video, so now we need to create a reusable text field component. So I'm going to go to my atomic elements to create my reusable text field component. So I'm going to hit F on the keyboard, and then I'm going to rename this frame to text field. I'm going to turn off the fill. I'm going to give it a stroke of 1.5. It's going to be a black stroke with a lower opacity. Let's go with 16. And I want to change the border radius so it has the same border radius as my button. My button has 8, so this text field is going to have 8 as well. I'm going to add a text element inside my text field frame, and this is going to be our placeholder text. So I'm going to hit T on the keyboard. I'm going to say placeholder text. I'm going to give this text auto width, align it to the left, and I want it to be at 16 vertical padding and 16 padding from the left. So that's 16 top, 16 left, and let's bring down the size a bit. One more. That 16 bottom. Great. Let's just change the constraints of this text now. So it's going to be at the left and center. So that if I were to change the width of this frame, my text field is fixed, or my placeholder text is fixed to the left, which is what I want. I'm also going to create a shared style for this Roboto regular 16 because I'm going to be using this as my paragraph style. So I'm going to click on the 4 dots, create new style, and create this as a paragraph style. I'm going to decrease the opacity a bit. So go to my fill and maybe bring this down to 24. And great, now let's just turn this into a component. So I'm going to click create component. And if you go to your assets tab now, you'll notice in your atomic elements, you have a text field. So now we just need to create the subscription component, which is a combination of a text field and a button. And they're both atomic patterns. So I'm going to go to my molecular elements, go to assets. I'm going to grab a text field, and I'm going to grab a button, put them next to each other. I'm going to change the placeholder of my button to subscribe. And I'm going to change the placeholder of my text field to enter your email. And these won't affect the master component because these are just instances of the master component. So if you go back to atomic elements, you'll see that your components still have the original placeholder text. So now I'm just going to put both my button and text field inside of a frame, and this is going to be our subscribe component. And I'm going to change the constraints of my button and text field. So the text field should have a left and right constraint because I want it to grow and shrink with the subscribe frame. And it's also going to be at the center. And my button is going to be constraint to the right and center. So now if we increase or decrease the size of this component, it is working as expected. So now all that's left is to turn it into a reusable component. So we go to the top, click Create Component. And now if you go to your Assets tab, you'll see that you have a reusable subscribe component. Great. So now let's go back to our desktop frame. I'm going to toggle my columns on by hitting Ctrl G. And I'm going to add our header to this section hero. So I'm going to click T on the keyboard to add a text element. I want this text element to span 6 columns. I'm just gonna go grab some dummy text from a dummy text generator. And I'll post the link to the description of this video for this dummy text generator that I'm using. I'm gonna paste this into my header, align it to the left, make sure my header is spanning 6 columns. Going to increase the size, so that's like 64. Maybe bring down the letter spacing a bit. I'm also going to have it have auto height so that my width is fixed, but my height is responsive based on the text inside the text element. I'm also going to change its weight to bold. Maybe let's do medium. Yeah, medium looks better. Okay, cool. And now let's just create a shared style for this H1. So we had previously created an H1, but this was more for demonstration purposes. So I'm just going to delete the style for now. And this is going to be our new H1. So I'm going to click on the 4 dots, create new style, and this is our H1 style. So now let's grab the subscription component that we created. So I'm going to grab, drag and drop, and I'm going to have this span 5 columns. So it's a little bit smaller in width than our header. And I want to have 40 padding between my header and subscription component. I'll just bring that up for 1. And then I'm going to place them both inside of a frame. So Option Command G, call this frame intro wrapper. And I'm going to give auto layout to this frame so that this 40 is always maintained. I'm just going to make it aligned to the left. So now if we were to edit our header, our component is responsive. Great, so we're almost there. Now all that's left is to create a new frame with our image and caption text. So next to this intro wrapper frame, I'm going to have my hero image container. So I'm gonna hit F on the keyboard to add a frame, have that span 6 columns as well. I'm gonna call this frame hero image wrapper. Make sure it's spanning 6. Then I'm going to go and grab my image. I'm just going to drag and drop it into Figma, and I'll post this image to the video. And maybe let's bring down the size of this image a bit. Maybe so that it's the edges of the 6 column. Let's go on the other side as well. And let's have it so that there's 32 padding from the top of our hero image wrapper. Let's bring this down, 32. And now let's add our caption. So we're gonna hit T on the keyboard to insert a text element. Say this is a caption. I don't want it to have this H1, so I'm gonna detach it, give it auto width. And I wanna apply my paragraph style. And I'm gonna change the opacity of the fill here. Let's bring that down to 24. And let's also space it at 24 between the image and caption. And there should be also 32 at the bottom. So let's just increase this a bit. $32, great. So let's just now align them to the center of each other. So I'm gonna select them both, align to the center. I want them to be at 104 vertical padding. That's 104, let's increase the size a bit. 2, need to increase it by 2, 1, 2, to increase the desktop frame, 1, 2. Great, perfect. So you'll notice that if you have this section hero selected, these 2 purple dots appear, And you can actually use those to switch the order of the children of this frame. So if you want the image to the right or the left of the container, you can do that. And this comes pretty useful in a lot of situations. So great, so now we have our hero section. So you can also turn this hero section into a reusable component as well. So I'm gonna do that. I'm going to cut and paste my hero section into molecular elements. And then I'm going to give it a fill. I'm gonna use our white shared style. I'm gonna go create component. If you go to your assets tab now, you'll see you have this hero section. I'm gonna go back to my desktop, assets, drag and drop my hero section. Just align it to the bottom of my header notification. And great, now we have a reusable hero component. And you'll notice in the left side panel, if you go to assets, we're slowly building out our design system. So we have a few atomic elements, we have a few components built out, and in the right side panel, we have our shared styles. So the more you design and the more components you build, the more you expand on your design system. So be sure to check out the next video where we will be designing a slider component. I'll see you there.